I think it's kind of easier also, right?
Yeah.
No Wikipedia here, and no long notes here, and no kind of talking from your mind, which doesn't exist probably information.
I mean, I think the good part is Nick doesn't know what questions are going to be thrown at him. So.
Hello and welcome to our podcast, The Art of Experiences, where today we are talking to you from our base in Dubai, the UAE. We are the guys who have created, enjoyed and choreographed some of the best experiences in the best locations around the world.
Today we will be podcasting episode 6
Wow.
in our new series, The Art of Experiences, where we will be exploring future experiences.
Oh, that's me.
That's you. Oh, I should have read past experiences. So today it's not about future, today it's about past, I believe.
Lovely.
The older past, I guess.
Man. Go on. What else does it say?
It says we are Nick, Ravi and Arjun. We are designers, architects and techies. Above all, we are on a journey to tell the wider world why some experiences work and some do not. And probably next time it might help if somebody does a typo check on the script actually.
Okay, good. At least we can see it this week.
Fine. So, well, guys, it's great to be here, and thank you. And let's start with sharing Nick's experience of what he has become from where he started.
Okay, all right. If we must.
So before we jump into it and Nick gets all excited about telling what we may not want to hear, but it's a new format, guys, today, and we are experimenting with it. And as you know, we always experiment with new things, different things. And this new format is called as Just Chatting. So where one of us will be in conversation so both of us will be asking questions to Nick, and Nick is the one who's going to be kind of cornered, although I would say he would be not cornered, and he would be answering the questions, taking on questions and answering them, and Nick will share about his life experiences, about his professional experiences, what he thinks, what inspires him, and so on and so forth.
My palms are already sweating, Ravi, so I know
it's okay, Nick.
First of all, I feel a bit weird. I don't know if anybody would actually want to listen to what I've got to say. That's the first thing. Secondly, I can't wait till it's your turn. And you, Arjun. And third, well, I mean, do I really have anything of interest to tell people? I mean, it's an interesting format. I like the idea. Let's see how it goes. Me being the guinea pig. If somebody says, "Do you want to?" I put my hand up before I hear the end of the question. So it'll be interesting. And for those of you that don't like me, please switch off.
No, but they like us actually.
Well, that's
please
the thing.
do not switch
they
off.
like you, Ravi.
Please do not switch off.
By the way, the t-shirts are on their way. Now this week, actually tomorrow is Arjun's birthday, friendly listeners. So we hope that Arjun will be with us next week. Although he's doing a skydive tomorrow, so maybe he won't be.
Maybe if you want to have a good look at Arjun this week, you should, and next week we are not sure.
maybe we could do a little holographic Arjun next week.
Oh yeah, holographic projection. That was Arjun's idea. Anyways.
Good idea.
So yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, that will make us remember Arjun actually.
Okay. So
all right, Arjun, over to you. And, as usual, Arjun has got a list of different questions. Seems like Nick's sweating has increased, and I could feel the heat. Arjun, come on, shoot.
Okay. So I'll start with a very basic question for all those people who know Nick and who don't know what Nick does and what his background is. So Nick, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm
Nick Griffin.
Nick Griffin. I was born in the UK. I grew up all over the world, and I decided I wanted to be a designer when I was in my late teens, for two reasons mainly. First of all, because I wasn't very clever, and secondly, because I could draw. I went to study in the UK, and then I've been lucky enough, I guess, I'm very lucky to have lived all around the world, and to have been able to make a living from being a designer for the last, this is going to show my age, can I borrow some fingers? Over 25 years. I've been travelling around the world. I think it's now 92 countries I've worked in around the world. And for those of you that are just starting out in your careers in design, anybody that tells you that it's a difficult job, they're right. Anybody that tells you not to do it, they're wrong. It's an amazing life. I've lived here now in the UAE for the last 17 or 18 years. This place is my home. Thanks to the fact that we're connected to the rest of the world in the UAE very easily, it makes it very easy for people like me and others to travel around the world and to ply our trade, designing things and telling people what our insights and views are of different challenges they might face in business, in brand, in design, and all those sorts of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, actually. And I would just like to ask you one thing. When you said that you grew all over the world, that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
So very quickly, why don't you share something about growing up all across the globe?
All right. So
and probably that shaped your personality.
Yeah, well,
as
it
well?
did. It did.
Your thinking.
I mean, one of the things that I will say about being a designer is that unlike almost any other skill that you can learn in life, it teaches you how to think, and it teaches you how to solve problems. It teaches you how to be strategic, how to conceptualize, how to refine your ideas, and then how to deliver your ideas. Now, they might be intellectual, or they might be physical, or they might be something else. And there's another important element to this that people often forget, and that is the cultural side of what we do in business as designers, but also in business in general. Now, I'm again very lucky. I always say sometimes I have an angel on my shoulder, because really truly I believe that I've been the luckiest man in the world. I now work with a team of people that cover 2/3 of the world, and I'm the only one amongst all of the people I work with whose first language is English. Now, when you're in that kind of scenario, you have to really understand and be empathetic to different people's cultures, and a joke that I might find funny, you might not find funny, or somebody in China or somebody in another part of the world might not find it funny.
That happens quite a lot.
Well, I don't find anything you say funny, but that's another story. Actually, I do. I love him so much. He's waiting. All I can say, listener and viewer, just wait until it's Ravi's turn to sit here. He's going to get.
Today it's all about you.
Oh, Ravi, you're so kind. It's not about me at all, but I'm going to talk. So understanding cultures, being empathetic, understanding different cultures and the way people behave is a humongous part of business. Not just when you're dealing with clients and associates on the outside world, but also inside the businesses that you work in. Being sympathetic and being able to laugh. Some of the jokes that we tell one another, for example, despite the fact it might not look like it, these guys are my best friends. We love each other like brothers, and some of the things we say to each other people may well be offended or about. We don't say it that way, but we know each other well enough to know where the lines are drawn. And I think growing up all over the world taught me that. It taught me about what it's like to be African and to live in Africa, what it's like to be Asian and to live in Asia, what it's like to be American and live in America. Now, all of those cultures are all changing all the time, of course, and my time living there is only a snapshot. But nonetheless, I see beyond just what you see when you meet someone. You kind of feel the vibe a little bit. And then that's professionally and personally, of course, I love doing crazy things, so that also helps me to understand more about cultural side of different parts of the world and what that means as a businessman, but also as a designer, and to feel the vibe that you get from different cultures. So
very nice.
I would encourage anyone, if you're starting out in life, if you're just starting out in business, go travel, go see the world. I know it's difficult at the moment with COVID and things, but expose yourself to different things, challenge yourself, get outside of your comfort zone. And if you find yourself doing the same things repeatedly, turn it upside down and break it up into 1,000 pieces, and then reinvent yourself, because this is the way you continue to grow. And the older you get, the more important it is to try and remain current. And sometimes you'll find that you do a good job of doing that. Other times you'll find you do a terrible job. And Dominique, our producer, good example. She's come to work with us and she's taught me things that I didn't understand. And my mind is all of a sudden open to a bunch of new channels that weren't there before. So it's a very long answer to a short question, but that's the important part of my life.
Nice.
Thanks, Ravi. Thank you.
So, for all of our viewers who probably know you as a businessman, and who don't know that you're actually a designer, so how did you get into design?
It's a nice question, Arjun. How did I start, and why did I become a designer? Well, first of all, I think my life was a balance between what I was doing in sport and what I was doing at school. I was never really one for studying, to be honest. I didn't really understand, and I guess I've learned through doing rather than necessarily learnt from books. Again, it comes back to my point about exploring the world and learning from the environments and the people and the things around you. So I wasn't particularly academic, but I could draw and I had a passion for making things. If someone gave me something, I would take it apart and then put it back together, and often there'd be a few bits left over, but I'd try and put it back together, and I became inquisitive about the way things work, and then started to build different things, started to play, doing things like playing with Lego and stuff like that was really cool when I was younger. I still love it to this day, because it taught me about making things, and then the combination of the ability of being able to draw and the inquisitive nature of me wanting to break things down and build them, plus the fact that I'm interested in the arts anyway. I love photography, I love dance, I love music. All these sorts of things are part of who I am. I get a lot from that, those things, and I think that those things came together to help me choose to do this. That's a kind of post-rationalization of where I am now. At the time, honestly, I can't really say there was one thing that made the decision for me or not. I just kind of became what I am, just because I wasn't very good at economics. I knew about geography because I'd been to a lot of the places in geography class and understood that stuff. I wasn't very good at science, and honestly speaking, those are my options. And so from there I went on to be a designer. Yeah,
very nice.
And one other point that comes to my mind, my journey is also not different.
Yeah.
But one of the common points is I don't think anybody gets into this realm of design thinking or knowing the complete potential of it.
That's true.
And they're just invited by this array of colors, and there's a whole lot of different routes that you can take from that point.
I think it's unique, isn't it? I mean, you're an architect. I'm a designer. And I think that there's the artistic part, which is the output, but then there's the logical part, which is understanding the problem, understanding the dynamics, understanding the research, today understanding the data and extrapolating trends from that data. And I don't think there are many professions, I'm sure you'll correct us eventually if we're wrong, where you can combine the kind of logical side of your mind with the artistic side of your mind to deliver a solution. That has to work for business. The idea of designing something that doesn't have to work in business is kind of a myth. Even some of the most creative people in the world, people like famous artists, I can't remember the guy's name, Damien Hirst. He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He's a very creative artist. You might look at his work and either love it or not. Yeah. But he's very creative, but he's also a businessman. People like Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stones, very creative guy, but he's a businessman.
Absolutely.
He understands business, he understands the logical side, and his product is his art. And I think that's what I love about our business. It's neither one or the other. You could never. If you were a creative accountant, you'd probably end up in jail. For example,
creativity
either one way or the other.
Places,
This gives you an opportunity to cover all of those things, and it's beautiful.
Yes, I do agree, because I think if I have to take a look at all the successful designers, it doesn't matter which industry they belong to, whether they are fashion designers, whether they are product designers, whether they are architects, interior designers, or artists for that matter, they understand business, They understand how the business takes place, and they understand the commercial news that has to be given to the client.
Correct.
You know, and that's only when you start understanding that you are able to actually deliver success to your clients. You know, and success to your client means success to yourself.
Also for yourself. I mean, we've got families to feed.
Absolutely.
You know, so we need to take this beautiful artistic output and wrap it in business. Otherwise, we end up with nothing to eat and no clothes to wear.
True.
So,
Nick, you've been a designer. Now you've been on the, as you described, which I really like, is the dark side onto the businessman, and you're heading a way big region and everything. Now, tell me something that, there are two questions to which I would like to ask. One is that, is there any regret in your professional life and you would like to go back and redo it? That's one. And secondly, I'm quite intrigued by the fact that rightfully so, the sun never sets in your region, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, rightfully so. Talking to a British. So we are friends, so we can say that, you know. So right from Australia to Africa, you manage all these regions. So I'm just intrigued that how do you actually stay on the course, you know, I mean, on the top of things, you know.
Okay. So the first question, do I have any regrets? The simple answer is no. There are things I've learned, lessons I've learned along my journey, and some of them have been very painful. Some of them have cost me a lot of money. Some people who I've known, who I thought were friends, have turned out to be charlatans. I think this is the journey of life. This happens. But I look at the journey I've had for the last, I don't know, however, 30, 35, 40 years, and I think back on that time, and I think, you know, I am the man I am because of the experiences I've had, both good and bad. You know, and that it's actually both. People say it's the challenges that make you stronger. I think it is in part, but it's also the opportunities that make you stronger.
Cool.
You know, and if I've learned one thing, and it'll be a message, I think, hopefully for everybody, if you're listening, and if you want to kind of get the most from your life and enjoy life, you have to see the best in everything. You know, even when you're looking at something and it looks like a massive sea of shit in front of you, there's always one thing that you can identify as being good. You know, there's always something that you can find as being good. And then it becomes a question of whether or not you focus on the sea of shit or you focus on the one thing that's good. And that is what drives me. You know, I mean, those of you that know me know that I like to play practical jokes on people. I like to laugh. I like to have banter with people. I'm a kid, people call me. And this is a part of me that's never gone away. And much like if you stood, I was in the mullet the weekend, and there was a little girl with her parents, and she was skipping and jumping around, and she was really happy. And I looked at her parents, and they both looked so miserable. And I thought to myself, what happened between that and that? How did that happen? You know, and actually, you know what? I think they allowed it to happen to them. You know, and if you refuse to allow that to happen, then I think that you will drive forward in life. You will learn from the things that didn't quite work out the way you wanted them to, and you'll do your best not to try and trip up. But as I said, focus on the good things. There's always good in everything, in everyone even. People say to me, oh, what about such and such? You know, he's this or she's that. You know, nobody sets out in life to be horrible or difficult or make your life miserable or any of that stuff. Focus on the good things, and then good things come to those that do that. So the second part of your question was about how do I manage. The way that over the years, the way the sun's come out, I've managed to organise myself and the way I think and the way I communicate by following a simple rule. The rule is actually there are a few, but let's start with the first one. If you can't write it down, it's nothing. So if you have a thought and you try to express it to somebody, sometimes that thought might be misinterpreted. So if you can write it down, then everybody can understand it. You can make sure that the words that are written down on the page represent exactly what you're thinking. that's how I organise my life. So moving on a step from that further is that my life is broken down into, if you like, compartments, and each of those, some of those are interrelated, but there's a compartment for Nick, there's a compartment for Ravi, for Arjun, for my wife, for my children, and so on and so forth, and then there's a compartment below that for work, and each one of those then gets divided up into different sections and subsections. That's how I organise my mind. Now, if you're talking about time management, I just do. I'm disciplined, and I think being a sportsman when I was younger helped. When I was a swimmer, so it's you against the clock. And if the coach says swim this distance in this amount of time, you have to do it. Or you don't have any rest. You just get tired, and then you collapse. So I guess there's a certain amount of discipline there as well. And then the third thing I would say is that I love what I do. I mean, I don't see my job as a job. I love my job. I love my life. And I think that there's a anybody that says anybody that says sorry, I'm going to probably offend somebody. If they say they want to retire, it means they don't love what they do. You might want to change and adapt, and life's about that. Constant change is really good. But if you don't want to, if you don't love what you do, what's the point?
True.
Well, why would you even do it?
Very true.
Does that answer your question?
It does.
Yeah,
It does.
okay.
Thank you so much.
The next thing that I want to ask is actually an extension of what Ravi just asked right now, and probably you've actually answered a part of it. But what does an average day look like for you?
Okay, so I mean, I work. Well, work comes into my life, should I say, on most days. So for me, there's no hard line between my private life and my professional life, because I don't see them necessarily as different. There are different people in both, but I don't see them as different. So normally, an average day, today is a Sunday, it's a working day here in the UAE. Let's not use today because Sunday tends to be a different kind of day. Let's take tomorrow. Tomorrow's Monday. My day will start at 5. I will wake up at 5, go to the gym, and then at 7 I have a phone call with my team in Asia, and that will last until about 8:30. Then I'll have some breakfast, and I'll come to work. I have another call at 9. Which is a regular call, and then I have another call at 10, and then the day becomes fairly open until various things fill it normally, and then it comes fairly open until the end of the day, which is around 4 till 5:30, when I start to think about the things I haven't done during the day normally, and I try and wrap those up so that that's finished, and then I leave work around about 7:30, go home, have some dinner, spend some time chatting to my wife and my family, and then probably do a little bit more work, maybe watch a video or two. I'm a big reader. I love to read stuff, especially on the internet, so I'll probably spend an hour or so reading about what's happening, exploring videos. I love to go down the YouTube rabbit hole, and then normally fall asleep around 10:30, 11 o'clock. It's a normal day. Yeah, copy paste every day. Pretty much.
Quite hectic, I would say.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the thing, it's like anything, isn't it? If you don't run and somebody asks you to run a marathon, you can't do it. But if you do run and somebody asks you to run a marathon, you can do it. So maybe from the outside it seems hectic, but from the inside, it's just my day. It's just what I do. I like it. Yeah, I'm
Very
happy.
nice.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Would you?
Well, since we are almost nearing the end of our podcast today, it's kind of a rapid fire for you.
Okay.
And I would like you to describe 5 things that define Nick Griffin.
Okay. From my point of view, I think the best thing to do is to ask other people what they think of me. But I can tell you how I'd like people to think of me.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, positive,
Okay.
happy,
Okay.
hardworking,
Okay.
considerate,
Okay.
and open.
Okay. All right. Very nice. And would you choose friend over work or work over friend?
Friend over work.
Okay.
Yeah, every time.
Okay. I'm just asking.
No, it's a good question. Of course. He's my friend, by the way. With Ravi,
That's
I'm
where the
okay. I
question
can cover
is
both
coming
bases.
from,
you
yeah.
know.
That's where the question is coming from, you know.
Yeah, friend first, always, every time. Yeah, yeah.
Very nice, very nice. And what do you think about the future? And I'm asking you from a point of from a technology point of view,
Okay.
because nowadays we have seen in the past a couple of months that technology is involved in almost anything and everything we do,
Yeah.
and everything is getting digitized. Everything is getting let's say internetized, you know.
Yeah.
And what's your take on the future with respect to our industry?
Okay. With our specifically our industry.
And then you can expand on
Okay,
it.
so I think first of all, there's certain things we do that can't be replaced by technology. I think that there's there was a video I watched recently where they got a master pianist and a computer to play a symphony. The computer played it perfectly,
Mm-hmm.
but this master pianist played it with passion, and you feel it. And I think there's something to be said for that in what we do. I think that the future of technology in the world we live in presents opportunities, but it also quite scares me a little bit, to be completely honest. I always feel like whoever they are, might be gathering information on me. I don't know why anyone would ever be interested in doing that, but anyway, some people might. And I want to be sure that privacy is an important part of my life.
You think that within
me
the privacy?
personally,
Okay.
I want privacy. I want to choose who I share my information with.
Okay.
In terms of technology and what we do, my goodness me, you know, the pandemic has supercharged a bunch of sleeping people. You know, one of the biggest ironies I find in my life is that so many designers are sitting comfortably doing the same thing the same way that they did for the last 30 years or more, and they have the audacity to go and talk to clients and tell them about the future. Okay, we have to look at ourselves, and we need to shake ourselves up, and we have to say, you know what, if we did it this way before, there might be a better way now. And you guys know this more than anyone, particularly Arjun. I always push you guys really hard.
Cool.
If you've done it the same way before, do it different. And and see if it works. I think that's the future. So the future for me is about learning fast, breaking it, learning fast, breaking it, learning fast, breaking it, and constantly reinventing ourselves. And God knows where we're going to end up. You know, the speed of innovation has gone from a trickle to a torrent. And we're in it, guys. It's exciting, huh? The future is really exciting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, if you move on from there, from the technology side, what according to you is the best skill that you've developed?
Listen, to be able to listen, without a doubt, to be able to listen.
You said that a lot.
Actually, I had a question which kind of contradicts. It doesn't contradict this, but I was going to ask you that, you know, how did you develop your orator skills? You know, you're a fantastic presenter. You are able to get onto the pulse of the room, of the people that you're presenting to, and you are a fantastic orator.
Thank
your
you,
vocabulary, obviously, you're a native English speaker, but still, I have seen many English people, but you are the fantastic vocabulary that you have. And you on the spot you can change things, you know, and turn it around. So how did you develop that, you know? And now this question that you said that you listening, you have developed a skill to listen. So how does it go hand in hand?
Okay, so that's a really it's difficult to talk about something you do naturally, but there was a journey. I used to be very shy when I was young. I was very shy about being around people and public speaking and things like that. And then something changed. And I think people say as you get older, you know, when you're young you try and change the world, and when you're older you don't give a shit. You know, you are what you are, and if the world likes you, they like you. If they don't, they don't. That's fine. That's it. Yeah. And that gives you gave me anyway, in my case, a level of confidence that meant that I could go out there and I could speak with confidence, because actually I do care for some people, but most of the time I don't care what the reaction is. Don't mean that to be disrespectful, maybe that's the wrong word, but I don't go out trying to impress people. I go out just to say what I know. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing, it comes back to the point I made about writing it down. So I consciously practice speaking in a way that if you were to write it down, it would make sense. So you laugh when we do work together. Sometimes I'll be reading such and such a comma, close brackets, open brackets.
Yes.
This is the way my mind works, and so there's that side of it as well. And then I think, and you guys will probably be a judge of it more than me, I try really hard not to have an ego. You know, although this is all about me, this show, which is kind of embarrassing. I try really hard not to have an ego, and if I do, I try really hard, particularly in a professional scenario, not to bring it into the room, which means I take the mickey out of myself, you know, and I'm not afraid to laugh at myself, and I'm not afraid to make fun of a situation that might not be good. For example, one example I remember, I went into a boardroom to present to a board of directors. The air conditioning was broken, the sun was beating in through the window, I was sweating like crazy, and the computer didn't connect to the screen, and I had video to show. It was a disaster.
Yeah, it is a
everything
perfect recipe for a presentation that we do not want.
And it was a major pitch presentation. It was and I stood there, and I looked at myself, and I from the outside, obviously inside out, I looked at how I thought I looked, and I said, I'm really sorry. You can see how I look. You can see how I feel. I'm just going to try and do my best here. And immediately the ice was broken. You know, then I didn't have to perform like a you know I was on a stage. I just broke the ice and said. And anyway, we ended up winning the work, which was great because the others that were pitching also had to present in a sweaty hot room as well. And perhaps they didn't make a joke of themselves. But I'm not afraid to do that. So that's another thing. Hopefully that helps. Yeah.
Yes, it does help.
I mean, things go wrong, you just laugh. Just like,
This is really amazing, Nick. I think 30 minutes are not enough to cover your life story. Correct. And the way you are. Probably maybe taking a cue from this video course, maybe you should start writing a book of yours. You know?
Thank you. Well, I don't know. I mean, my life is my life. All of our lives are a story. Yeah. And some of those stories are interesting to people. Some are not. So, you're not the first person that said that, Ravi, but one day maybe if I decide that my work life will take a different direction at some point in the future, maybe I will write it down, even if no one reads it. I think it'll be fun. Yeah. All right.
I would read it.
Nice. Thank you, Ravi.
On fast forward.
I think we might just buy an audiobook.
For those of you that do buy my book, there'll be a guy, I can't think of his name yet, probably, let's call him Ali. Be Ravi.
Two poles apart.
Oh dear.
So just to wrap it up and make it a little more interesting, how about we define you, but not in 5 but 3 words?
Oh, go on then.
Right, Arjun. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but you can.
So that you can think.
Ravi only knows 2 words.
Okay.
Do you want a letter which starts off?
When it comes to Nick,
I'm really
I would
now.
use the terms accommodative.
Okay, thank you.
He's very accommodative.
Happy with that.
Of others' ideas.
Adjective.
He doesn't push his own thoughts to anybody.
Except today.
I would use the term mentor for the reason that he, even if you don't ask him for his advice, or even if you're a shy person wherein you don't want to go to Nick and ask for his advice, he would come to you and give his thoughts on it, on how you could have done better. Now then it's up to you whether to absorb it or not to take it.
Okay.
So that's one key thing. And the third thing, I would use the term, not for the physical stature of who you are.
Oh my God.
I would use the term tall, because you think above others.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Arjun.
Because he's tall above others.
I'll take all of them. Thank you, Arjun. Thank you.
His head is already in the clouds. By the way, I don't know if our friends and viewers think that like this, but then when we are sitting, I think, is it the camera angle or something? But it seems that we are half the size of Nick actually. And every time when we actually look at our own video, we're like, no, hold on. So we have actually tried changing our position, but it didn't really help.
That can only point to one thing, though, right?
My arms are twice the size of Arjun's, but you can still beat me in an arm wrestle.
All right. So, do you want to hear
Yeah, I
my
do,
words, or
I do.
you don't want to hear them?
Well, I'm not sure I want to, but I'm going to.
I'm going to say it actually.
Okay.
So there are three words which describe Nick in my mind. For me, one is emotional, second is friendly, and third is genuine.
Ah, thank you, Ravi. I'll take all of those.
Yes,
thank
please.
you. In fact, for those of you that don't know, this is what Ravi bought me. This is Ravi's wife bought me, actually. It says emotion. Now, Ravi has one that says logic, by the way.
Yeah.
Which describes us both, I think, perfectly. Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
guys. That was
So
okay.
yes, Nick, thank you for sharing your
You're
life
welcome.
experiences.
You're welcome.
It was very nice, and I'm sure our listeners would have found it very insightful and
Yeah.
very useful.
You're welcome.
And I think this is this kind of a format. It really is kind of very casual and very free flowing,
true.
and I think because we are talking to each other and because we are talking about each other, I think it's kind of easier also, right?
Yeah.
No Wikipedia here, and no long notes here, and no kind of talking from your mind, which doesn't
Yes.
exist probably information.
I mean, I think the good part is Nick doesn't know what questions are going to be thrown at him. So
No, I don't.
it makes it all
No.
the more interesting.
It does.
Yeah. So we really enjoyed the format, and I think we will do more of it. But for now, I think it's time to wrap up.
Okay, so let's read the script and back to that. It says, thank you for listening to The Art of Experiences with me, Nick, him, Ravi, and him, Arjun. Thank you to our producer,
Dominique.
who you can't see, there's a shadow. Oh, that was Dom swearing in the background. Thanks, Dom, for putting our podcast together and for drowning the computer. Ravi, over to you.
Yeah, all sorts of things happening here. The things are really hitting up. Dom is also kicking out some glasses and water and whatnot. So anyway, if you guys enjoyed our show, please leave us a review below. Follow us on YouTube channels, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google's Podcast, whichever channels you find it easier. Just follow it. We are there. The Art of Experiences.
Arjun, would you like to read what's in yellow?
Oh, sure. Ideally, it should have been Nick, but nonetheless, I'll read it this time. So join us on our next podcast where we'll be having a brand war again.
Oh,
And this time it will be between Middle Eastern hospitality brands,
okay, cool.
Jumeirah, Emar, and Rotana.
Very good, very
So
good.
bye for now.
Very interesting.
And please do comment and leave any of your suggestions wherein we can make the show better. And don't forget to like and subscribe our YouTube channel, The
Thank
Art
you.
of Experiences.
Very good. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Dom. Thank you, everybody. Have a safe week, everyone. Don't forget to wear your masks if you have to, where you are. And we shall speak to you again next Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice week. Bye.